Hello. Hello. My name is Sam Azar. Hello, my name is Solomon Sammy Azar. As a human being, I feel it is my duty to speak up in regards to the observations I have done in my life. First and foremost, I fundamentally believe I have solved the energy crisis. Therefore, I believe it is my duty to speak up. I'm making a videotape by myself, set up this camera by myself, because it seems that everything I have done in my life, by far, has been by my own hands. In regards to science, in regards to all my observations. So, the energy crisis. I just heard President Bush in the State of the Union address speak about two major topics. That of the energy crisis and that of greenhouse gases. I also see a gentleman by the name of Al Gore who just received the Nobel Peace Prize in regards to greenhouse gases and his work in regards to that. Anybody with any wits whatsoever should understand the whole technological advancement of mankind itself is performed by energy. In the beginning, you could say of civilization, call us cavemen, walking upon sticks and stones, and someday somebody figured out how to rub two sticks together. Something so simple. Two sticks, rub it together under friction. We understand by way of science what it can do. It starts a fire. Something so simple. I believe I have done the same thing in this 21st century. Two electrodes to create fire from water. The fuel in my system is water. As amazing as that might sound, but the truth is, what is water? Water is oxygen and 2 parts hydrogen. A beautiful molecule. I don't need to elaborate upon it. We all know how beautiful water is. But truly, 2/3 of it is hydrogen. And scientists for the past 60 years have been trying their best in multiple different fusion devices to somehow join the hydrogen together. I believe I have done something so simple right underneath all our noses to address this crisis. So therefore, I need to elaborate a little bit more in conjunction to a videotape I once made earlier. Hello, my name is Solomon Sammy Azar. More important than that, I'm a human being who has fundamentally believed I have solved our energy crisis. Now, the energy crisis. 2 days ago, I have heard our President of the United States give a message about energy, how important it is, about greenhouse gases, how important that is. Energy is the key to civilization itself. Without energy, we would not have done anything. From the beginning, when a caveman might have figured out walking upon sticks to use 2 sticks just to rub it together and to create fire. And from there, civilization began somewhat. Melting ores and metals and protecting yourself from the cold and animals and the harshness of life itself. The harnessing of energy itself is the key to man's development, and in the several thousand years that we have grown as a civilization, it should be apparent that everything built, especially in this last century, is built on the foundations of energy itself. Do we not have several 100,000 troops in the Middle East trying to secure an energy policy? Do we not have so many companies in the North Sea and other places going down several miles of the ocean looking for energy? Or in the frozen Arctic lands looking for energy? Energy is the key to civilization. If you don't believe me, shut off the electricity in your house and you will see how far you'll go without energy. Or even to jump in your vehicle. Energy is the key to all things. Therefore, I fundamentally believe I have found the road to safe, clean energy. And it is my duty to speak up. Everything I have done in my life in regards to science, I have done alone. And now I'm going to take myself on my own as a statement of conviction. I am appealing to my fellow man to repeat my experiments on your own. I've tried to give everything I can on paper in way of a video showing the demonstration, because energy is important. It's stability of life itself. What did I do? I believe I have uncovered something so simple that it is exactly the same situation as what happened in the beginning with a simple caveman walking upon sticks and to rub it together and to use it for fire. 21st century, I'm talking about 2 electrodes. Something so simple to conduct electricity, to make energy. What am I talking about? I'm talking about the fuel from water itself. What is water? Water is oxygen and hydrogen. 2 hydrogens bound to an oxygen atom makes a molecule we call water. 2/3 of a water molecule is hydrogen. Those in the fusion community know the beauty of hydrogen itself. It's the fundamental building block of the entire periodic table. The majority of all hydrogen bound in water doesn't have a neutron attached to it. It's just a bare naked proton. If you have a neutron attached to it, it's called a deuteron, and with an additional neutron, it's called tritium. Hydrogen is the best candidate to try and fuse together if you can, because it only has 1 positive charge. To try and slam 2 hydrogens together. I say water. I say pure water. I used in my experiment ultra pure reagent grade water. It must be extremely pure. Why does it have to be extremely pure? Believe it or not, this is rubber, and pure water is almost as insulative as rubber. It doesn't want to conduct electricity. You might step in a puddle of water and know to stay away from electricity because you think it conducts electricity, but it doesn't. It's because of all the contaminants inside it. Water on its own is extremely stable. It doesn't want to break apart whatsoever. All right, so what's the trick to make the hydrogens fuse together? I am talking about the power of a lightning bolt. This fascinating display of light and sound that you see in the sky is how we're going to do it. What we need to do is first understand the lightning bolt itself. It's nothing more than a difference of potential. From clouds to ground, we have a difference of electron potential. And when it reaches a certain point of maximum potential, or something, a tall tree or something gets in its way, it's going to want to strike and conduct itself, because all things want to come back down to neutrality. So I am speaking in regards to something that we would call a lightning bolt, but I want to break it down in regards to high voltage and frequency itself. Because I'm talking about a lightning bolt, not that you see in the sky, or wherever you might want to do an electric discharge, even yourself who would walk across the carpet in the dry of winter where the humidity is low, and you can build up a static charge and touch something. Believe it or not, that's between 5,000 to 8,000 volts. Very small in regards to current, but the voltage, the potential is high. I'm referring to very high voltage and frequency in conjunction, not to discharge itself in the dielectric of air, but in water itself. Pure water, also with concentrations of, I used heavy water, where there's a neutron attached to the hydrogen. Very expensive. I got this from United Nuclear. Very expensive. But I'm talking about resonating a lightning bolt. High voltage, high frequency, resonating between electrodes. If I have a power source and I can bring it in to something to attach, if these electrodes, and that's all they are, two electrodes. In the beginning, 2 sticks to make fire, I'm talking about 2 electrodes. 2 electrodes under the principle of high voltage and high frequency. Now, voltage. What voltage? I believe there's a minimum theoretical maximum yield of 750,000 volts of an electron field gradient put across this molecule of water that will, under such an electric field, all of us must admit the electrons themselves are totally stripped of all the orbital shells between the oxygen and the hydrogen, and we will have a flow of electrical current, discharge current between the 2 electrodes, of fundamentally the majority being all electrons, being 1896 times smaller than the proton itself. But yet, would you begin to see that if I had two electrodes, by way of, let us imagine we have a Tesla coil to attach to this thing. The fuel inside doesn't care what's on the outside. It doesn't care how you're driving it, but how I'm going to drive it, how I'm trying to explain how to drive this. Let us envision a Tesla coil. Let us envision 1 million volts, peak to peak. Let us just give it 100 kilohertz as a frequency. And let us just say that between these electrodes, we have this very large electric field gradient oscillating at 1 million volts, peak to peak. Would everybody agree that if this vessel is filled with water, everything within that electric field is going to be subjugated to that 1 million volts? You just can't escape it. A dielectric breakdown will occur upon any material whatsoever. Every material on the periodic table would be made to conduct or discharge the fourth state of matter from a solid to a liquid to a gas and to the ionization of atoms themselves, electrical current and ionization. Everything will break down under a strong electric field. Well, I'm talking about pure water. And it takes a lot actually to break down, to have a discharge across. You need pure water to do this. Now, a lot of these things I'm saying, I'm assuming that the people who are listening to me understand nuclear physics, fission, and high voltage. Okay? So, because what I'm trying to do here, to solve this energy crisis, is to boil water. How do we make electricity in this world? By far, the majority way to make electricity is to use coal, is to use oil or natural gas, something merely to boil water. Boil water and make steam. Just like your little teapot with the steam pushing out, it pushes a turbine. And that turbine makes electricity. That's how you make electricity in this world. 90% by far throughout the world. You might get lucky, you have a river somewhere, you could dam it up and fill up the valley and have water come down and push a turbine. That's clean. But the world's not filled with energy and valleys, filled with rivers and valleys that you could dam up and create a hydroelectric dam. Well, there is another way of doing it with uranium reactors. Fission rod assemblies we're using. I don't want to get into fission rod assemblies, but what I want to say is I live here in Pennsylvania, about an hour away from 3 Mile Island, which is a fission power plant. Nuclear energy, there's fission and fusion. Fission is the breakdown of large atomic atoms, uranium, a few other things they might use, but it creates a great amount of friction by way of neutrons and other radioactive material flying around between the electrodes, and they heat up the water and again boil it, make and turn it to steam. Well, I'm trying to say really the same thing with two electrodes to resonate upon the dielectric of water, not air, the dielectric of water. I built a Tesla coil, everything completely tunable, everything. From the primary flux on the secondary side, the spark gap, the inline inductance that I used into the primary. Everything I did was with, well, I used parts from a junkyard in all honesty. I used from a driver's seat motor from a Buick Century car, and how fitting that is, I believe, because it's a century that I am taking the ideas of Nikola Tesla and his induction coil and the ideas of Albert Einstein himself in the theory of relativity, because that's where I derived this out of, from high voltage discharge, accelerating. These are all charged particles. They're neutral when they're put together, but yet they're composed of all charged particles. Subjugated to a very large electric field, and they'll break down completely, and they're going to abide by this electric field. So, I'm talking about using electricity to create electricity. How do we do this? If we have a vessel, such as a nuclear power plant, already existing, this little simple tank can represent a vessel, a large vessel, where inside we have electrode systems, where we have a pure form of fuel, of water, containing hydrogen, with concentrations of heavy water itself. other elements possible under iron, nickel 56 of the periodic table that we could add concentrations. But let us start with the premise in the beginning of what we need to do to have a lightning bolt, to conduct in the dielectric of the fuel itself, water, to impinge, to make the oscillation and the driving force. First, we will concede that by vast majority, all the electrons will be stripped by this 1 million volts, peak to peak, to oscillate back and forth. We know that within every electric discharge, there is a magnetic field created. Think of the cathode ray scope in the back of a television. The older ones, these newer plasmas don't do this, but we can have a magnet and we will sense the magnetic field. Or you can take electricity, just push an electron or any charged particle and you will sense a magnetic field. 1 million volts. Follow with me on this. 1 million volts peak to peak. The electrons are stripped and they will be pushed and oscillated to go back and forth as a function of the applied voltage grid. We have to admit this. That's what the discharge current is. That's what my previous videos show. That's what any electric discharge will do. In that discharge, there will be a magnetic field. That is what I'm referring to in the magnetic field. In the oscillation of frequency, and the higher you go, in the understanding of skin effect and other phenomenon associated with high frequency, there is more of a pinching and coupling of the quantum of the magnetic packet of energy. It's somewhat of a, it entails multiple ideas of de Broglie, quantum mechanics, other areas, but the point I'm trying to say to everyone here is that the hydrogen bound in this water molecule is what we're after, and if we can get it to combine into helium, there's an excess amount of energy comes out. If you put energy into this system, and if you can get excess energy out, it is absorbed by the entire surroundings, made to boil, made to made steam, and that's how you generate energy. So the byproducts of such a system would be hydrogen being slammed together by a magnetic pinch would make helium. The oxygen, which is left unbounded afterwards, is also a byproduct. So this system has hydrogen, helium, and oxygen as a byproduct. Extremely clean. I did this experiment on my own. I built all my Tesla coils tunable, and I did this for the first time last year on Palm Sunday, 2007, April Fool's Day also. A very interesting day, which I'll get into. But that experiment's never been done before, to actually try and take a device such as a Tesla coil, which can make a lightning bolt, the thing that you see in the sky, and made to not discharge in front of you like in a fancy magic show or wherever, you know, to have an electric discharge, but to do it upon water itself. But understanding that water is 2/3 hydrogen. It is hydrogen what the entire fusion community is after completely. And in this fission community, the opposite end of nuclear energy, which is no different than the coal or natural gas or whatever you're doing to boil water, to make steam, to make electricity, I am proposing every established nuclear fission power plant to listen to what I am saying. You have a spare reactor in your backyard somewhere at one of your plants. I am saying rip out the fission rod assemblies and put in a simple electrode system that I have done. The ideology that I have written in a 50-page paper and a PDF that I have in my website of noblefuse.org, in the experiment that I have performed to make everything tunable, in the words that I have written, in the ideology of what I'm trying to say to accelerate charged particles, and really only looking at the hydrogen itself. For the oxygen is already O16. It's, for those who understand nuclear material, it is already a magic shell nuclear atom. The core, which is made up of 4 deuterons inside, you know, we can start with helium, which is a magic shell. Also deuteron, which is a hydrogen bound with a neutron, you have a deuteron. Put 2 of those together and you have helium. Put 4 more together and you have oxygen. They're very stable. But the hydrogen is not that. It's abundant by vast quantities, but it would actually like to build up into a deuteron or into helium. And it'll give you a bonus. It'll give you excess energy. It'll give you, on the atomic scale, Burning coal, burning oil is chemical reaction, meaning that it's the electrons on the outside. It doesn't play with the nucleus whatsoever. I am referring to a minimum of 750,000 volts as a minimum electric field gradient. I find this in regards to the reverse beta decay of a free neutron. And there's other ways I look at it, but if a free neutron could fall apart, it could come together. And fusion, just by way of knowing it for half a century, we know that some things do want to fuse. Under, again, nickel iron 56, that everything underneath this realm of the periodic table will do so. I am proposing the magnetic pinch ideology, proposed by Bennett since the 1950s. But more so than it, in regards to high voltage, that striking action that it impinges upon the charged particles is going to create a magnetic field. That magnetic field, you ever play with magnets? You got to pull to some parts of it, right? I'm talking about taking the hydrogens and slamming them together. By putting a high voltage discharge, by vast majority are electron current, without a shadow of a doubt, which will oscillate amidst these hydrogens. They won't be pushed as much because of their mass, but yet the electron current will oscillate, and it will have a magnetic field to it, and they will pinch. That's the magnetic pinch ideology. So I am speaking of high voltage to give it a magnetic field during its discharge. I am also referring to frequency. The higher the frequency, the better the envelope is squeezed. Higher frequency, higher rate of change of velocity in respect to time. This is again in regards to discharge of current. I wrote about this in my paper. I'm trying to spark in somebody's mind, somebody out there, that unlimited fuel is right in front of us. A clean byproduct is right in front of us. I don't care about business. I don't care about patents. I don't care about hiding this from anybody. I have been trying to tell this to everybody because I fundamentally understand energy is the key to civilization. Completely. Completely. If anybody doesn't understand that, they're not enlightened enough to know anything. Because truly enlightenment comes from stability by way of energy. The more energy a society has, the more stable you are, the more comfortable you may be to turn the lights on, to turn the heat on, to sit down at your house and turn your computer on. Energy will give you the time to read, to grow, to learn, to be enlightened. Energy is the key to civilization. I am not trying to hold anything back. I am not trying to profess myself to be a Mr. Know-it-all, that I know everything. I have been chasing gravity for 25 years in my life, and I stumbled on this a couple years ago. And every way I look at it, I tell you it's absolutely perfect. I'm trying my best in my words, in my video. Everything I've done alone. From making all my Tesla coils by myself. I am not bragging. I am trying to say that I am alone. I have done everything alone. Now, I would hope that this video here is just going to entice people, especially CEOs of nuclear power plants or even coal power plants, anybody with a vessel, a large pressurized vessel, to take two electrodes, simply take two electrodes, like from my experiment, of 1 million volts minimum, peak to peak, in order to begin to see it, and make every parameter tunable. Throw a concentration of heavy water in, but start with a baseline of this, of pure reagent grade water. Pure water, purest you could find. You want no contaminants. Start as a baseline as that. I'm trying to make a video to encourage people to do this, because it's the energy crisis. Now, I have performed this experiment last year on Palm Sunday, 2007. It's also April Fool's Day. I wanted to mention that because I wanted to talk about something else. I went on the internet last year trying to tell everybody about this fantastic idea. I believe fundamentally, I'm telling you, this is the road to clean energy. If somebody jumps on this, put some extra people instead of one guy, but a team of engineers and scientists, and merely replicate my experiment, and you will see the positive fusion reactions. You will begin to build upon it. under the ideology I am explaining, and we can, increase the efficiency. So I'm excited. I make an experiment. I resonate it. Nobody's ever done an experiment like this before. No one. No one has ever taken a Tesla coil, high voltage, high frequency, in regards to trying to magnetically pinch hydrogen together, bound in the most common sense, ultimate, beautiful fuel there is in the entire universe. As far as I'm concerned, water. Water is great. And that's just a beautiful thing, and I'm excited about it. I'm pretty excited that maybe that somebody might have stumbled on something or worked for something and found something for the benefit of mankind. Something that at the core of who I am as a human being is what I've always tried to address my whole life. Life is what we view it, what we see it. It's our state of mind. I think life is beautiful. I love life completely. I love humanity, I love civilization, I love to be alive, I love to be healthy, and I love to be stable. And as an individual who understands the parameters to be healthy and stable, I understand that's a gift. And if you are in that position, and if you could see a little more, if you could do a little more, help your fellow man. I've always believed in that. We have to put into life to make life better for all of us. Well, so I make this experiment. I go on the internet, I make a video, and I explain. I try to appeal to, I believe, Westinghouse Corporation, because of their historical ties to Nikola Tesla himself. And now Westinghouse, I assume, is still one of the leading providers of nuclear fission power plants. So I tried to make an appeal to them that, they could at least follow this up. I don't care who follows this up, any company. But something happened along the way. Something happened along the way. Anybody who's been following me, well, they know exactly what I'm talking about. And anybody who sees me now, I have definitely thrown a monkey wrench into this whole machine, or this discussion I'm trying to relay to my fellow man, to society itself. And what that is the story of God. I have lived my entire life as a scientist. That's who I am. I have built multiple machines in my life because I am an observer of life. As a scientist, I know how to work on things. I've been an electrician all my life, a master electrician. I've been an engineer, and I'm a scientist. Everything I do is on a scientific basis.